today I'll be going over how to print pennants. So these are the ones I use. They're from AS Color, and I believe they only offer them in cream and black at the moment. But I'll be showing you the process of how I print them, and if you're interested in printing your own, this is probably the easiest way I've found to print. So in this part, all I do is I lay down the flat pennant on the platen that I made, and then I put this transparency over it so I know how I want it to look, or the exact location that I want it to be in. And then I put an empty screen overhead. I want to measure exactly where this design will go. So the thing about pennants is that depending on your design, you'll want it in a different spot every time. So I set down a transparency, I set down the pennant, and then I put the empty screen over it. And then I get a tape measure, and I measure exactly from the top, or approximately from the top, how far I want it to be. So this one's gonna be about, let's see, 8 3/4. And so when I burn my screen, I'm gonna put my transparency 8 3/4 from the top. So once you have your screen made, you put it on, and based on your measurements, it should fall within where you measured. I use a 125 mesh count. You can also use a 110 mesh count. The reason I use such a low mesh count is because these are very thick, so this is duck canvas material. And because they're thicker, you gotta drive in the ink harder if it's a thinner mesh. So if you're using like a 200 or I don't know, 200 and up mesh count, it might be kind of difficult to really drive in the ink. Especially since this has like grooves built in. It's very similar to a tote bag. So I just find that using lower mesh counts really helps driving the ink through this textured material. So yeah, I recommend either a 110 or a 125. And over here I have my ink, just standard water-based black ink. You can use plastisol if you want, but I like the water-based because it like bleeds into the actual material, so it's like no hand. There's a no hand feel. I pretty much just set I try to line up the back end to this lip. So the reason I made my own platen is because if you can tell, this has a border on it, and it's so thick that it was messing with the screen, and I had a really hard time driving the ink in. So this way, the platen is smaller than the pennant, so this thick part just overhangs, so I get a nice flat surface on this. Okay. So once this is down, put down my ink. And this is just a standard 70 durometer squeegee, so I'm gonna flood this. I'm gonna push down. I'll just do 2 passes on this. And that's usually should be good enough. And just carefully peel it. And there you go. You got a pennant. So here's just some things to look out for during your print. So as you can see here, okay, that's focused. Sometimes these come with lint, and you can see in the O where a little piece of lint got caught. So just before peeling your pennant off, make sure, let's see if we can find it. So you can see it right here. There's a little piece of lint that came off. And all I gotta do is just squeegee it again, and that should go away. So let's see here. See, now it's gone. So just something to keep in mind while you're printing these pennants. So once you're done with them, this is what they'll look like. I just stack them in stacks of 12, but it's like because I use water-based ink, there's like no hand feel on this. So pennant itself is from AS Color. I believe they only have it in cream and white, or sorry, cream and black at the moment. So the only two colors you can buy from them. But yeah, pretty easy to do. Just have your platen. I feel like this is a must-have, just because those edges are so thick. This really helps smooth out the surface and just ensure that you have a nice, clean print. So if you have any questions on this, leave them in the comments.